All right, well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy you are in the Zoom room on this super cool evening. So the whole purpose of this webinar is to inspire you and to give you the tools to live your best life abroad. Because you are here, I know you are globally minded. I know that you want to build your career in sustainability and environmental issues. And I know that you are a change agent. I know that you care about making a positive difference on this planet. And I know there are some of you out there that are on the call because you want to win that $2,000 scholarship. So hang on, we'll get to that in just a second. So I want all of you to get out your cell phones. You're going to get a lot of information this evening. And I think you're really going to enjoy it at the same time, but I want you to snap some pics along the way. I will be sending the recording out to you tomorrow as well, but that way you've just got the information at your fingertips. So let's get started. So pleased. My name's Denise, and I want to thank all of our guests on the call today. So today you're going to hear from two universities in Dublin. We've got University College Dublin and Trinity College Dublin. And then we also have two other institutions, University College Cork in Ireland, in Cork, Ireland, and Queen's University in Belfast, which is in Northern Ireland. And I'm super pleased. We've got John Barry, who's a professor from Belfast. John, did you just want to say a quick few words about why sustainability and environmental topics are so crucial right now?
That's great. Thank you, Denise. And good evening, everybody. The reality is we're now living in the age of climate breakdown, our planetary emergency, or what's sometimes called the Anthropocene, the age of the human. So it's wonderful that you're all interested in finding solutions to these problems. So whatever degree you choose to do on any of these fine institutions this evening or anywhere else, it's wonderful that as active citizens, as change agents, as Denise pointed out, that you're interested in furthering your knowledge, because knowledge is power. And that's what we need in the coming decades ahead. So thank you for your interest in this area.
Oh, all right. So this is exciting. I want to say a big thank you to Education in Ireland. So Education in Ireland, we have Sarah on the call from Education in Ireland. They are the ones that are sponsoring the $2,000 scholarship. And I want to give you a sense of how this is going to go down tonight. So I need you need to be on the call for at least 30 minutes. And after the call, I'm going to do some analytics, look it all over, and we'll randomly choose somebody from that list. We will do an announcement tomorrow on social media, as well as over email. So you'll get an email blast as well. So fingers crossed, good luck. And thank you so much for Education in Ireland for this opportunity. And this scholarship is available for any Irish or institution, also as well as Northern Ireland institution. So anybody on this call today, you can use the scholarship for. All right, so I want to get a quick sense of who is in the room. And I'd like you to put your answers in the chat. Please hit everyone so you can see what everyone's talking about and what they're doing. But the question is, where have you studied or where have you been abroad? Or if you're part of the 2020 cohort that wasn't able to go abroad, just pop that in. And if you're a student who hasn't had an opportunity for whatever reason, just pop that in, but just say, hey, I'm super excited about going, blah, blah, blah. So pop it into the chat, use the chat, make sure you hit everyone. We've got some interesting ones, Madagascar and Japan, Grenada, oh, it was cut short. Yay, Ireland, New Zealand. Wow, we've got Cork, Ireland, France, Greece, Germany, Spain, Ecuador, New Zealand. Oh my God, there's so many awesome places. Venice. I haven't studied abroad, but I really want to study in Ireland. Oh, somebody was supposed to go to London. You see all these awesome places. So the reason I do this is I want to be able to use the chat to inspire and uplift. And so this is an example of checking out who's in the room. And I want everybody to be able to use that chat to inspire. So thank you for putting your answers in there. And next slide, please. All right, also using the chat feature, I would like to hear what you want to study. So in environmental issues, there's a whole bunch of things in there, right? It's everything from energy to marine biology, sustainability, could be sustainable policy. There's a whole bunch of things. So pop it into the chat, again, for everyone to see. This will just give us a sense of who's in the room. If you don't know yet, no worries. Just say, I'm just exploring. Awesome. Look at all this great stuff. All right, so you're gonna, the information that's coming our way is really great. I don't know if you're able to see it all, but we've got a lot of sustainable development, environmental policy, energy, all of this we're gonna cover tonight. So I think you guys are gonna be super psyched. Yay. All right, let's keep moving. So really quick about me, my name's Denise. I am the president of Affordable Degrees Abroad. And I used to be in higher education, and on my watch, I've sent 4,000 US students abroad to around 150 institutions. And so this is something I know, something I care about, and something I want to share with actually every US student. And in addition, I have spent 6 years living and working in France, Turkey, Japan, and Morocco. And I feel like it transformed my life so much. And I really want to be able to share that with you and make sure you've got these opportunities to not only transform your life, but transform the world. And my main mission is I've seen US higher education, the price tag climb and climb and climb and climb. And I feel like, you know, there's another way to do this. So my mission is to guide US students to sort through all of the choices of doing a degree abroad so you can make this dream a reality. Next, please. So here are the awesome people that you're going to be hearing from today. And I'm so grateful that they're on the call. 2 of the folks are in Ireland, and it's 1 in the morning. So I just want to send like lots of love your way for showing up today for us. So we've got Ellie from Trinity, and Ellie is in Ireland right now. It's 1 in the morning. Thank you, Ellie. We have Maggie from University College Cork, and Maggie's actually based in New York City. And John from Queen's University Belfast. John is also in Ireland, 1 in the morning. Thank you, John. And Shannon from University College Dublin, and Shannon is also based in New York. All right, and here's what we're up to today. We are going to talk about why doing a master's degree or a PhD abroad is a great value. We're going to do some deep dive into some Irish institutions. We're going to talk about financial aid, FAFSA, 529 plans, GI Bill, scholarships. How do all of these work abroad? And then we'll transition to, are you a good candidate? What are the next steps? And we've got about 15 minutes for Q&A. So I want to direct your attention at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Q&A. At any point, pop in a question if you've got it into the Q&A. That's where we'll be checking those out. And use the chat. Keep popping things into the chat, but use that chat instead of for questions. Please use that really to uplift and inspire each other and create community. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so the first thing is, why do a degree abroad in the first place? So the number one question I always get is it really cheaper to do a degree abroad? And the question is, yeah, it depends. You can still find really good deals in the United States, But I will say, as a general rule of thumb, the answer to that question is yes. Basically, what we've got is everything from free, so 0 tuition dollars, which tends to be in Germany and in Norway, to like super expensive, which is around $40,000 a year. Those tend to be in oh my gosh, in London or Sydney. And then there's things in between. So Ireland is sort of this in between. It's around 15 to 24-ish a year for tuition. The second question I always get is this a real degree? And I will say there are amazingly fabulous, highly regarded institutions in the world. All of the institutions you're checking out today are extremely highly regarded. And how do you know this? So in the US, we are used to US news and world reports. So instead, I want you to pivot and really start to look at QS and Times Higher Ed. These are rankings that are worldwide rankings. They're usually motivated by research. That's how you get rankings. But nonetheless, this will give you a sense of how those institutions are ranked in the world. The other thing, a lot of these industry accreditations also exist at abroad institutions. So AACSB or ACWIS, these are business accreditations. ABET, this is an engineering, computer science type of accreditation. And then also, why else? Develop global skills and network. All right, so I'm preaching to the choir here. You are all on this call because you want to go abroad, but this hands down will distinguish you with employers. I have a friend who works as a hiring manager at a very large aerospace company. He's US, he did his degree abroad as well, and he likes to hire people US students who've done their degree abroad because he knows you can roll with complex international assignments. And then you also have an opportunity to work overseas and gain residency. There's something called a post-study work visa, and Ireland has it for 2 years. UK also has it for 2 years. And this is a great way, if you want to work abroad, you start with a master's degree, and then you choose a country that has this post-study work visa. And then assuming the company likes you, then you would transition to another visa, and then perhaps even to gain residency. But that's sort of the long game. So I want to make sure everybody is aware that FAFSA and 529 college savings plans and GI Bill, all of them can work abroad. And so with FAFSA, there are 400 plus international universities that accept FAFSA. So this is for loans only. And I will say for FAFSA, you need to be a US citizen or a permanent resident in order to access that. And anyhow, all of the institutions that are featured today do take FAFSA. So if you need those loans, they are available. And then also, if you are lucky enough to have a 529 college savings plan, those same 400 institutions are also on the FAFSA eligible list. And so all of the institutions today are also eligible for 529 college savings plans. And then for GI Bill, in case you are eligible, or if you're a family member who is eligible, there are, I haven't really done the math, but it's probably 500 plus institutions on the WEAMS database. And all of the institutions today are also on the WEAMS database, so they are eligible for GI Bill as well. If you need more information, I do a deeper dive on my blog, and I've put that information below. All right, so let's orient ourselves in regards to where Ireland is. So Ireland is in the EU, and you can sort of see you've got Cork and Dublin. Cork is in the south, Dublin is center. Belfast is geographically on the island of Ireland, but it is politically part of the UK. And you will notice here, right, it's super convenient. All these places are super convenient to all parts of the UK and to Europe. So, you know, within 2 hours, 2.5 hours, you can get most places in Europe. So it's very convenient. And then within Ireland, there's an excellent train system. You can certainly go to Cork to Dublin, which is around 2.5 hours, and it's about 2 hours from Dublin to Belfast. All right, so why Ireland and Northern Ireland? So first of all, what everyone says, right? It's a super warm country, super friendly, easy to make friends. It's a young country, meaning like it's got a young vibe. There's a lot of students that are there. So if you're a young person, this can be very exciting. It also has a very high employability rate after graduation. So you're going to hear from all these institutions about how they support you in finding jobs afterwards. And this is one thing I'm really impressed with when I look at all the institutions around the world. I think Ireland does just a bang up job with employability. And to that point, it is a hub for many, many companies. I think a lot of students are surprised to know that Dublin and actually all of Ireland is sort of the Silicon Valley of Europe. And then of course, the post-study work visa, which gives you 2 years of a visa afterwards. Now you still have to hustle to get the job, but at least you've got the paperwork in order to make that happen. Oh, okay, so now I'm super excited about this. So this is really hot off the presses, and y'all need to be taking a shot of this if you haven't done it yet. So why Ireland? Let me just say some free money here. So the Irish government is offering 60 scholarships at the bachelor, master's, or PhD level for international students just like you. Now check out what the award provides. It is a 10,000 euro stipend, so that's around 12,000 US dollars, and that is for your living expenses. And then in addition, you get a tuition rate waiver at an Irish institution for 1 year. So this is an amazing scholarship, and there's more information down below. But I think it should be something that if you find a great program in Ireland, y'all need to also apply for the scholarship as well. So let's quickly go over some facts around Irish universities, and also this also applies to Northern Ireland too. Tuition tends to be around $15,000 to $25,000 a year. And then that would be, then it would be minus scholarships. Now, cost of living is around $10,000 to $16,000. Dublin's going to be on the high side of that. Cork and Belfast are sort of the lower or mid-size of that. As we talked about, FAFSA and 529 plans, yes, they apply to all of these universities, and the GI Bill does as well. And then here's a razor roof moment. The GRE is not typically required for entry for most of the graduate programs across Ireland and Northern Ireland. So yay. And honestly, like applications tend to be pretty straightforward. They're basically looking for, do you have a bachelor's degree in a field that would then be able to carry over? Some programs will also require experience. And another cost savings is most of the master's programs are 1-year programs. And when I say 1 year, most of them are 12 months. And these are full-on 12-month programs. Some will be 2 years. Those tend to be more in the hard sciences. PhDs are going to be 3 to 4 years. And what's great about these programs, many of them you've got industry experience that are incorporated throughout. Now, I just want to orient you to some language. Sometimes you will see research programs or taught programs, and I want to make sure you understand the difference. So a research program, sometimes you'll see a research master's. So a research master's is really just 12 months of research. Most US students, probably this is not the thing you're interested in. Most US students are going to choose the taught program. And this tends to be around 9 months of classes, followed by 3 months of research or thesis writing. And PhDs are fully research-based. So this is a difference than what we would find in the US. And so what this means abroad is you've got to come in laser focused on what your research topic is and be ready to launch with your research. All right, Sarah, you're up in regards to COVID, which is always a favorite topic.
So exciting, I know. Okay, so what's going on in Ireland? Right now, it's similar to the US. The numbers have declined. The case count has declined pretty sharply after the holidays. So the numbers are trending positively. Right now, the universities are teaching remotely with the hope to be able to switch back to in person when it's safe to do so, hopefully, in the summer or in the fall. As with here, that's really on it depends on the situation. And so it can change at any time, but that is the way that it's trending. And one thing I think that's important to highlight is that the Irish universities have done a tremendous job of really adapting to the scenario and of really supporting and taking care of students. So when international students arrived, both in the fall and the spring, the universities offered free airport pickup and transportation to accommodation. And then there's a 2-week restricted movement period. So it's not full lockdown quarantine. You can, go for a walk within, just kind of outside. There are some things you can do in a very safe, socially distanced way, but there is that 14-day period. And hopefully by the fall, that will not be a thing anymore. But, it is in some ways similar to here in that, the situation is changing and, the government and the universities are keeping a very close eye on it. The vaccine rollout started before the holidays. It's progressing as planned. Ireland is, part of the EU, so their vaccination doses are coming through the EU. And as with here, they're working to vaccinate the most vulnerable folks first, and intend to have, the country fully vaccinated by late summer or early fall. So fun COVID updates. Let's move on to something more exciting.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Denise. My name is Ellie, and I am a recruitment and admissions officer for the E3 STEM initiative at Trinity, which I'll talk about in just a second. As Denise mentioned, I'm actually based in Ireland at the moment, but I'm originally from upstate New York, came to Ireland to do my own postgrad degree and never left. So I'm very happy to, of course, talk about any questions about Trinity, but also just about being a US student coming to Ireland and staying and working afterward. So perfect. I'll kick off on the next slide and just talk about Trinity in general a little bit. So the university was founded in 1592, which makes it and classifies it as an ancient university. About 28% of our student body is from outside of Ireland. So for our prospective international students, that's just a really important figure to know in terms of being aware of the global community that we have on campus. And then in this slide, I've also just highlighted the location of Trinity. So we really are right in the heart of Dublin city centre. And I've also outlined some of the major multinational companies that are based in Dublin and the close proximity that Trinity has to them. So that's resulted in over 400 industry partners for Trinity across various disciplines that we are able to draw upon for our student experience. But that being said, with the history of academic excellence that Trinity has, we've needed to find ways to stay current and innovative in our academics and our research. So on the next slide, I'm just going to outline an exciting new initiative that I'm coming from, which is the E3 initiative, and stands for Engineering, Environment, and Emerging Technologies. And the initiative itself is bringing together engineers, natural scientists, and computer scientists to respond to the social, climatic, environmental, and energy crisis that we're currently facing across the globe. So very similar to what John alluded to, in that these are very, on the forefront of what we need to be focusing on. So the philosophy behind E3 is that we can support our economy, but do it in a sustainable way, and that Trinity has the obligation to respond to the human impact, and that our graduates need to be able to come up with these solutions with a sustainable and environmental focus. So on the next slide, I've highlighted some of our key programs under this initiative. You can all read for yourselves, so I won't go through all of them. But I do want to highlight the top one there. The MSc in Smart and Sustainable Cities is actually a new program we've launched under the initiative, and it sits across all 3 schools. So it's completely multidisciplinary and open to students coming from all different backgrounds, whether it's hard sciences, social sciences. So kind of a new thing to be excited about. And another one I'll highlight is the Masters in Development Practice. Again, it's can be focused in policy and research in sustainable and environmental issues. But again, you can read for yourselves also some very standard ones there: environmental science, biodiversity and conservation, and also some very engineering focused sustainable programs as well. On the next slide, again, I've just highlighted some further scholarships in addition to the ones that Denise has outlined. So under the initiative, there are scholarships from 2,000 to 4,000 euro, and also a 10,000 euro scholarship for that new Smart and Sustainable Cities program, which is about half the tuition fee, and also different global excellence scholarships for 2,500 euro to 5,000 euro, which converts to a little bit higher in US dollar amounts as well. And lastly, I'm sure you're all very curious about what Trinity does to help with career development and where our graduates have gone on to work. So there's a dedicated career services team at Trinity that we encourage all our students to get involved with the second your foot hits the campus. They help with career planning, CV and interview prep, and also internship placement, if that's something that you're interested in. And it's also a core component of a lot of those courses I just mentioned. And that results in about 96% of our graduates going on to employment or further study within 6 months of graduation. I've listed just a few companies there that students have gone on to from those programs. So Engineers Ireland, others would go on to government or non-governmental associations like the EPA, or maybe some environmental engineering consultancies like the PM Group. And I've also highlighted a previous Masters in Development student, Chloe, who now works in the World Bank, and she's back in DC and focused on sustainable development in developing countries with her degree. So I'll leave it at that for now, but very happy to answer any of the questions you might have about any of our programs and during the Q&A. And I'll hand it over to Maggie, I believe.
Great. Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everybody. My name is Maggie Cardosi, and I represent University College Cork. And I'm based in New York City, and my own connection to Ireland is that I liked it so much. I studied there twice. And I've also spent about the last 7 years working in the educational space in Ireland for various organizations. So overall, I've spent about 11 years traveling back and forth. So I'm really happy to see you all today and know that you are interested in a place that I feel is definitely my second home. Cork, a little bit about Cork. I've listed on this next slide. Just a few things that I really love about Cork. It's the second largest city in the Republic of Ireland, and we're located in the south, as you saw on the slide that Denise showed earlier. I love that it's a small city. It's really easy to navigate. It's warm and friendly, just like the rest of Ireland. but also very modern. So we're a hub for business, research, and technology, and you can easily get to all places around Ireland and Europe from Cork. There's no shortage of things to do either, whether it's kind of going to museums or concerts, or enjoying some of Ireland's beautiful beaches, castles, or landscapes that are very close by. And UCC, so we'll move to the next slide. UCC, you know, I talked about easy to navigate. We're just a 15-minute walk from the city center in Cork, and we're located on a beautiful campus that dates from 1845. And every year we welcome about 22,000 students from over 100 countries. Two things that I would love for you to take away about UCC today is that one, we are a leader for industry engagement. So your degree will mean something, and most of our degrees do include some type of work placement or field work, often with one of our thousands of industry partners around Cork, Ireland, or abroad. We're also very committed to our sustainability practices at UCC and proud to be the world's first green flag campus, 9th in the world for sustainability. And we are currently the holders of the first chair of sustainable business in Ireland via our partnership with Allied Irish Bank. And speaking of sustainability, we'll move to the next slide, please. This is just a snapshot of kind of what you can expect about our commitment to in the environment at UCC. So it's not just something that you're studying in the classroom, you're seeing it all around you, whether it's our native wildflower pollinator garden, our arboretum, our campus community garden, our you know, plastic-free cafe, or even, you know, the landscaping on campus is all repurposed. So it's all over. And the degrees too, those are not just kind of concentrated in one area. If we can move to the next slide. This is a snapshot, or actually a list of the degrees that we offer within environmental studies and sustainability. And what's really nice is that while we do have quite a lot in the sciences, so if you come from a sciences background, that's excellent. If you're interested in geoscience, in sustainable energy, or marine biology, we have that. But if you come from a non-sciences background, maybe business, food, you know, humanities, something like that, we have degree programs that can suit you as well. And we have scholarships to go with those degree programs. So our colleges would offer up to 20% off of your tuition for many of the degree programs listed here. So that's just something to remember. And as I said, many of our programs also include work placements or field work. So if we can move to the final slide. I can show you here, UCC, like I said, is a leader with industry links around Cork, and Cork is really a hub for industry, especially in marine and energy science, which is a huge driver of research. UCC itself is the home for 4 national research centers, as well as the Environmental Research Institute. So I've listed here the different you know, individual research centers that are under the umbrella of that. So that's something that you may be studying as a student, but you could equally be placed with one of the companies on this list. And our graduates do go on to do a variety of things. So whether you're interested in potentially going on into research into NGOs, maybe into cultural heritage management, or working in aquaculture or civil engineering, those are all places that our graduates go. So I'm going to leave it at that and pass it on to the next university. But thanks so much for your attention, and I look forward to chatting with you later.
That's great. Thank you very much. So we go from the south of the island to the north, where I'm based in Queen's University, Belfast. Like a lot of universities in the British Isles in Europe, it's an old university, interesting enough, founded at the very time of An Gorta Mór, the Great Irish Famine in 1845. Large numbers of students we get every year, and lots of interest from Canadian and North American students. We have 3 faculties, and we encourage a lot of innovation and interdisciplinarity within our degree program, and also in terms of internships, in terms of, you know, providing you with those opportunities either in work or a civil society organization or in a public sector organization to hone your skills. I myself am the world's only professor of green political economy, to give you some sense of the innovation that we do in the university. And I'm also the co-chair of the Island of Ireland's only climate commission based at a city level. Next slide, please. So we're also, as a society, coming out of conflict. We have to flag that up. You know, many of you would know, perhaps Northern Ireland, we did have, you know, decades of conflict that has now ended. We've actually been able to use some of the learning from that conflict transformation process in terms of our understandings of the transitions we're going to need in terms of energy and climate. Lots of political activity, and this is not just for Belfast, it's the same for Dublin and Cork, but certainly in Belfast, the City Council declared a climate and ecological emergency in 2019. There's lots of activity in terms of politics in the Republic and Northern Ireland in terms of the growth of, you could say, the Greta Thunberg effect, or young people interested in climate and ecological issues, in terms of the growth of parties like the Green Party. So there's a very practical policy governance orientation, certainly within Belfast, around how do we mobilize and use our technology, our skills, our innovation. What are the new business models needed to shift to a low carbon economy? We're, in a way, innovating in a kind of a living lab kind of way, not just on campus, but also in the city of Belfast. And particularly an important issue, which is often overlooked, is the absolute need to integrate the information communications technology side of things, the digitalization of our lives and our economies into the low carbon transition. So just to give you a heads up for those of you who don't know this, but in the decades ahead, we are looking at almost a complete electrification of our lives. What does that mean in terms of transportation, energy, food production, and so on? These are some of the things that you can study, not just at Queen's, but in some of the other universities as well. Next slide, please. So there's the boring bit. You can get this stuff on the website. I won't go through them all, apart from perhaps the first one, which doesn't maybe strike you as, what's that got to do with sustainability and environment? Well, very simply, partly as a result of our experience of going from conflict to peace and transformation. We have a lot of experience, both at the university and in society in Northern Ireland, about recognizing that, for example, if you're an Appalachian coal worker or a Texan oil worker, well, the transition to a low carbon economy is frightening. Sometimes people reject it. It partly explains, for example, the vote for you know, a certain person. I'm not going to mention your former president in terms of why people voted for him, is that these people felt threatened. So we need to build in a just transition as we make this shift away from a high carbon, highly resource extractive economy. And therefore, some of the lessons that we've honed in Belfast on conflict transformation, we're pretty confident is going to be needed to empower entrepreneurs, people working in non-profits, or certainly in the public sector, about how do we govern the transition to a low carbon economy. Last slide, please. So we have lots of success, like a lot of universities have mentioned already, in terms of making sure that you're job ready. But it's not just about for profit in the corporate orthodox business sector. It's also about your careers you may have in terms of non-profit, civil society organizations. And certainly I've had many of my students who've gone on to do public service. So quite a lot of the local politicians in our assembly have been graduates of our university, which has been very useful to place our students in internships, but also bringing in local leaders in politics around issues, not just to do with the environment and sustainability. So there's a very strong public service impact, but also, again, seeing that innovation is not just in terms of science and technology and business. We're also going to need to innovate in politics. You know, do we need to start looking at more participatory ways of involving citizens? So we have a proposal in Belfast, for example, to have a citizens' assembly about looking at how do we implement some of the policy outcomes of the declaration of the climate emergency that Belfast City Council and our local assembly made last year. Next slide, please. That's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon Varley, Regional Lead for North America with University College Dublin. I am located with a team of colleagues here in the US, actually based in New York City. I did grow up in more of the Philadelphia area to Irish parents and a strong Irish American community, but I never formally studied in Ireland myself, but certainly received an education throughout many of my visits to Ireland, and just love now sharing all of these opportunities with you all. University College Dublin is Ireland's global university. We are one of Ireland's largest one of Europe's largest urban campuses. There's a few pictures there of our campus. It may not look very urban in its nature. We are still in Dublin City. But if you were on our campus, the vibe would certainly be more of a suburban type of campus. You can hop on a bus and be in Dublin City in 3 miles or 15 or so minutes. But we're a self-sustained campus, about 300 acres, giving you really all of the amenities that you're used to seeing on a fairly traditional college campus. We do have a really strong alumni base, especially if you're planning to return to North America or stay in Europe. North America alone has over 14 alumni chapters, so a really strong alumni network, and UCD is certainly one of Ireland's largest universities, and about 28-29% of our student body is international. I do want to touch on a few of our top programs, so we can go to the next slide. The programs that you see there are across several colleges at UCD. We have the College of Engineering and Architecture, College of Science, our Smurfit College of Business, College of Health and Ag, College of Social Sciences and Law represented as well. I put a little asterisk next to any other programs that are generally the 2-year programs, where the vast majority of the others are all about 12 months to possibly 16 months. I think there's 1 or 2 of them. I really think that there's a few programs to highlight in here. There's several that do require engineering or a strong science background. There's several others that with a passion and a general undergraduate degree with at least a 3.0 GPA will get you into the program through minimum requirements. To spotlight one of our engineering programs, the Water, Waste and Environmental Engineering is one of our 1-year programs that really helps you prepare to solve and prevent environmental problems. It's very lecture-based, lab-based in the fall and spring, and then you'll have more of a research project throughout the summer. Another really popular program at UCD is the Global Change in Ecosystems and Policy. So that is a 16-month program. It's actually a joint program with the university in Germany, really created to respond to the ongoing challenges of the global change. So first semester is at UCD, followed by an internship, and that could be with the EPA or Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You'll do a semester then in Germany, and then your last semester would be dedicated to research. To talk a little bit about admissions on the next slide, you do need at least a 3.0 GPA generally. That would be equivalent to what Ireland would call a 2-1 degree. We do have pretty explicit entry requirements right on our graduate search website to find out if you would meet eligibility requirements and to spotlight some of the scholarships. UCD offers the Global Excellence Scholarship, one of our most prestigious scholarships at UCD for international students, up to 100% tuition. If you're applying for fall 2021, we are still taking applications for that through March 31st. The International Student Scholarship is available. We have college level scholarships, so depending where your program may find its home, there will be funding. And if anyone here tonight has studied at UCD before for a study abroad experience, you do get an automatic scholarship for coming back to UCD for your master's. To give you a sense of what career supports are available to you, UCD is ranked #1 in Ireland, 78th in the world for graduate employability. Our School of Business programs have up to an 86% employed within 3 months rate. College of Engineering is proud of a 93% employment rate or within 6 months or in further study. Many programs will offer internships, especially in engineering. Those can be paid internships that lead to recruitment and employment. And UCD also hosts an annual engineering and science recruitment fair specifically on our campus that generally would attract when in person, now even more when it's virtual, but over 200 companies. And as you're thinking about which university is a good fit for you, I think seeing the internationalization of Irish universities is really important, because that means our career centers are supporting Irish students and international students to go all around the world, and they are well prepared to take on what you might see as what's important to your job search. To spotlight just a handful of graduates, I have on the next slide just a few pictures there of a few of our 2018 graduates from various programs that were listed on an earlier slide. Tessa, for example, on the far right, is a graduate from the University of Notre Dame in 2017, came to UCD for a water, waste, environmental engineering program in 2018. She worked on a thesis around wastewater energy requirements, did a sustainability internship in Dublin, and is now pursuing actually a PhD back in the United States. Certainly happy to point you in the direction to find more of these types of examples for programs that you are specifically interested in, and I'll put my contact information will be a little bit later. So thank you all.
Great. All right, well, thank you, everybody. So I'm hoping you're feeling excited, because there's a lot of really good information and inspired by all of that. But I want to make sure that you feel like, all right, what are my next steps? What do I need to do in order to make this a reality? So I usually suggest students have your top 5 programs that you're going to apply for. Now, how do you find your top 5 programs? So there are many ways to do this. One is attending webinars like you're doing right now. And so there's also, I offer other webinars as well, but attend as many webinars as you can to gain as much information. You can also search databases. Some of the ones that I like are study.eu and mastersportal.com. And I want you to examine rankings. So if you go to QS rankings and Times Higher Ed rankings, this will give you a sense of how these institutions are ranked. And then finally, don't do this alone. It is too hard. So ask a guide, you can ask me, and you now have some new best friends in Ireland and Northern Ireland. So please reach out to the contacts. I'll give you their information in just a bit, so you've got a snapshot of it. So that's step 1, discover your top 5 programs. You will then research all the entry requirements. Do you meet them? And also some programs do require some experience. So find out, do you have the experience to be competitive? And then understand the finances. What are the total costs? This is tuition plus living cost. And then you're going to calculate by also how long you're going to be there. Will you need FAFSA? Will you need 529 plan, GI Bill, private loans? So all of this is the details of doing the math. But I will say that generally it's cheaper than doing it in the US. And then finally, ask the universities about scholarships. So each of these universities offer scholarships for international students. And then also we had highlighted the Irish government scholarship as well, which is a full year. I will say that that's only for institutions in Ireland. So I'm sorry, John, unfortunately, Belfast is not included in that list. So those are sort of your concrete next steps. So, all right, so now you're curious, what do you need to do? So I want to make sure, take a snapshot of this. This is just my contact information. I do offer a free 20-minute discovery call if you just want to brainstorm and try to figure out which direction you should be going in. And then I also have a free graduate guide abroad, and I think it's super valuable. So if you just go to the website, scroll down, you will have that in your hands. I think it's useful. And then the next slide, you will be able to take a snapshot of this. These are all of your friends in Ireland and Northern Ireland. You've now got emails of everybody. So please reach out to everybody to ask questions. All right, so now is our Q&A time. And I want you to use the Q&A feature, not the chat feature, for your questions. And we're going to prioritize questions that sort of, I think, have more bang for the buck, meaning like our wider questions. If we have really niche questions, if we have time at the end, we'll also answer those. Regardless, pop your questions in here, because I will be collecting all of the questions. And even if we don't have time, I will be emailing answers out. So you will get answers one way or another. So please make sure you pop your questions in. All right, so Sam is asking, how does obtaining health insurance work? Will it have to be done in the US or in Ireland? And this is a super great question. I'll speak generally, but then I would like also someone else to jump in too. So you will be getting Irish insurance. And I think a lot of US students are surprised to know, like, it's affordable. We're not used to that. So I think that's going to be a shock to many of us to have really good, affordable health insurance. Some students, I think, may also keep US insurance if you're planning on traveling to the US. That's the part I'm not clear on. What do you guys advise if students are traveling to and from?
I can jump in there if that's okay. Most of our universities, so a great resource as to exactly what you need to do is each of our individual international student pages. So there's going to be a section on visas and immigration and health insurance and what criteria you need to meet. You can obtain generally private insurance in the United States, but it has to fulfill some specific requirements about kind of, what it will cover and if it'll specifically cover a hospital stay in Ireland. I think most students obtain private insurance within Ireland, and then our pages would all have recommendations for companies that we know serve international students well and fulfill the requirements for immigration.
Great, thanks, Maggie. All right, Sam also asked a question, when you apply to a university, are you automatically considered for merit-based scholarships, or is there an additional application? Anybody want to jump in?
For University College Dublin, the vast majority of our programs will qualify for merit-based scholarships at the time of offer. So you would receive potentially some type of international student scholarship based on the merit of your application.
That's the same for Belfast.
For Trinity, it's a little bit different. So for our scholarships, there is a short separate application. So you need to have your offer to your course prior to being eligible to apply. But typically it's only a 200-word statement just about why you're the right fit for the specific scholarship you're applying for.
And for UCC, most of our awards are merit-based awards, so you don't need to do anything else other than submit your program application. And then we also participate in that really nice Government of Ireland scholarship, so you have the info there and you can do that separately on your own time.
Great, thank you. All right, Joey has a question about the post-study work visa. Is it easy to transfer to other EU countries if you get a job outside Ireland? Okay, yeah. So the post-study work visa is attached to the country of which you are studying in. So if you're studying in Ireland, that post-study work visa will only work in that country. So if you're in Ireland, that will be in Ireland. If you're in Northern Ireland, that is anywhere in the UK. Your question is, though, if you happen, let's say you get a job at a multinational company for 2 years, and then you can transition then, if that's part of the position, to a different visa and a different country at that point. But that is sort of a different process than the post-study work visa. Okay, all right, Stephen is asking if we can also go back to the contact information. So Reese, would you mind popping that back so folks can take a picture? Great. And then Shalise was asking to find how to find information afterwards. So I'll be sending out an email so everybody will have access to all of the recordings as well as follow-up questions and contact information too. All right. Any other last minute questions? Let's see. It looks like there's some that are answered here. So I'm seeing if there's any that are useful for other people. Looks like Topton has dual citizenship. Yay, you. So it looks like you've got an advantage there. Yeah, and the reality is, I mean, does anybody want to answer that question? If you are coming in with dual citizenship, what that means for an Irish institution?
Generally, at least for the Republic of Ireland, you'll need more than just the dual citizenship to qualify for EU fee status. There is a full, at least on the university's website, a full like diagram that you can see in a full policy. But usually you have to be an ordinary resident for 3 out of the last 5 years or completed other forms of education in Ireland. Dual citizenship alone is not usually enough for EU fees.
Great, thank you.
And just so folk are clear, Northern Ireland, as part of the UK, has left the European Union. So it's very different between Northern Ireland and the Republic.
Yeah. Thank you, John. And we have a question. Are there any online options for degrees in the area of sustainable policy, specifically at Trinity and UCC? So are any of the programs, I know that online now is it's happening because of COVID, but normally without COVID, what's the situation with online degrees?
At UCC right now, we don't have a whole lot in the way of fully online programming outside of kind of the COVID world, but we can talk a little bit more and see what you're interested in and kind of go from there.
It would be the same for Trinity. So I did pop a link in there just for the kind of overview of the courses that are available online. But the ones that I would have highlighted tonight, because there is either a research or a field placement component, there is like the necessity for those to be in person largely. But as Maggie said, we can look into those other ones that are listed on the website if there's anything suitable, if it's kind of more of a diploma-esque route.
Right, and I want to mention too, there are some restrictions with FAFSA and international institutions there. So normally you are not allowed to do online and have FAFSA loans out for an international institution. However, there is an exception right now during COVID times to allow for that to happen. I don't know what will happen after COVID, if they're going to go back to their original policy, or if they're like, hey, we should be doing this. This is a great idea. So that's just something to pay attention to. It's usually safer for an international institution to choose a non-online program if you are considering using FAFSA loans. And then I have a question here around when applying to a master's, does it have to be the same as what your bachelor's degree is in? And I know some of you have already answered this, but let's think through like some of the programs that I think allow for, I think, more flexibility. Does anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think in general, the more engineering, health, more hard sciences would probably have requirements, but certainly art, humanities, social science, or interdisciplinary degrees would not really have that requirement. But obviously, check before you buy. But that would be my view. Hard sciences, yes. Art, humanities, social sciences, interdisciplinary studies, no.
So a bit more flexible. Anyone else want to jump in?
say our most flexible programs can be within our School of Business. They're generally looking for a wide variety of backgrounds, but certainly to echo anything in the sciences and engineering can usually be looking for something in the sciences and engineering background. It might be in the environmental sciences. It might be more flexible than saying a specific degree though.
Great. All right. Oh boy. All right. So there's lots of other questions here. I don't know if I have time for everything. Let's see. We have Tasman. Can anybody from Asia apply to a master's program?
Yes.
And so the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so even though we are focusing on US students, actually it's open to any international student. I think the only difference, Sam, would be the FAFSA monies are not available, nor the 529 or the GI Bill. But scholarships are available. And Dalton asked about employers. Is there a presence of international employers from the energy industry, Exxon, BP, etc.?
If I could maybe say, not really in the courses we offer, them more in the renewable clean tech sector, not necessarily in the coal, oil and gas sector.
And for UCC, like we have a degree, a master's in applied geoscience. So our students would be prepared to go on to kind of work in like regulatory agencies or go on to work for companies like BP and Exxon, you know, maybe in a sense of like a sustainable way of exploring new energy development, but we wouldn't necessarily have, you know, hubs for those particular employers like in Cork, but we would have maybe, you know, connections to them through other avenues if they're not physically based in the city that we're in.
Great, thank you. And then I think we just have time for one more question. So this is Shalise, and she asked, if you have a specific hard science background, can you apply to multiple other disciplines or only the one with your similar background? And I think it might depend on what your hard science is and also which program you're applying for to actually know if that math makes sense. But I would imagine if you've got a hard science background and you want to apply to like policy or something, that would be, you could do that, right? It's easier moving to the social science side than the other side of the house. Yeah, and John's nodding his head.
I would say too, you know, like there's typically space in your application to express why, like you said, Denise, you might be moving from that hard science to social sciences. So, you know, if you can articulate what that background has done for you and why you're interested in maybe making the change slightly, absolutely be considered.
Great, well, we are at time. I want to thank all of the guests, particularly the guests that are up at 2 in the morning. Thank you for bringing lots of coffee. I really appreciate it. And if you did not get your question answered, fear not. We are going to be taking notes with everything and we'll get back with you. It probably will be Friday by the time I send all of the answered questions out. Please use all of the resources that you've got today. My hope is that you've been inspired and that you've got the tools and now you can move through and make some great decisions for your life globally. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you so much to all the panelists. It's great having all of you here. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone.